The Windows Task Manager is one of my favorite tools in Windows. It's something I use very frequently just because I like to keep tabs on what's actually going on my computer. So I'm going to come here to the Task Manager exercise. So let's take a look at why this matters. I'm going to right-click on my Start menu just to launch it while we talk about it. There's a few ways to get to the Task Manager. Right-click on your Start menu, find that Task Manager. You can just search for it, Task Manager. It's in the Start menu. If you right-click on your taskbar, you can find the Task Manager. On your computer, if you do Control-Alt-Delete, you can find the Task Manager. It's really helpful. So if your computer's crashing, that's one reason why you want to go to the Task Manager. If it's running slow, I typically open up the Task Manager and see what's going on. So I'll use the Start menu, right-click, and find Task Manager. Now by default, when you start this, you might see your Task Manager in this limited view, which is not helpful at all. This just shows the programs that you launched, excluding the Task Manager. Like I've got my web browser running. I launched the web browser, but I know there's more stuff running on my computer. There's a ton of stuff running in the background, or you might have more applications running. Also notice it doesn't show me any details about this task, this program running. So I'm going to click More Details. I never use this default view. Always click More Details. This is going to get you the stuff that you really want. When I see these more details, I actually see, yep, I've got Google Chrome and the Task Manager running. Those are my applications. And there's a bunch of stuff running in the background. There's some stuff that Amazon has running on here to help with connectivity, that kind of stuff. I've got my RDP, the Remote Desktop Protocol, facilitating my connection. The Start menu is a separate application that runs in the background. So tons of different applications here. So if something is running slow, I can see, okay, which of these applications are using up the most resources on my computer? I created this server with 4 gigabytes of RAM. I'm using 48% of it, which is fine for what I'm doing here. I've worked with much bigger servers, like you might have a server that has 128 gigabytes of RAM or 256 gigabytes of RAM or a full terabyte of RAM. I've had processes take up almost 100% of that RAM. So many dozens of gigabytes. Sometimes it's because they crashed or there was a memory leak or something was going crazy. So sometimes we have to go in there and kill these applications. And we can kill them using the Task Manager. Like for example, if I start Notepad, Notepad will show up in my Task Manager. But let's say, for argument's sake, that Notepad was going crazy on me and it was using 99.9% of my CPU and my computer is going nuts because there's a bug in Notepad. I could come into my Task Manager, right-click on the offending application, and End Task. So when I choose End Task, it's going to forcibly close Notepad. So if I had a document I was working on, that document's gone. There's no emergency save in Notepad. Occasionally there are programs with memory leaks that the memory just grows and grows and grows, and your computer starts slowing down until you forcibly close those applications. I use Grammarly because I make more typos than any human being on Earth. Occasionally I've had to kill the Grammarly program because Grammarly's memory usage just kept going up and up and up and up, slowing my computer down. So I had to end that task and then start up Grammarly again, and it behaves fine for a while at least. I haven't had to kill Grammarly in a while, but occasionally I've had to do it. In this list of applications, you might see something that's suspicious. If you have malware on your computer, you could see that malware running here. So if you saw this is an ad.exe and there's pop-ups happening on your computer, opening up the Task Manager is like one of the first troubleshooting steps that you'll typically do. It's kind of like you go to the doctor, you're not feeling well. What are they going to do? They're going to take your blood pressure, they're going to take your temperature, just to kind of see what's going on. That's like really basic troubleshooting stuff that your doctor is going to do for your physical health. For me, the task manager is one of the first things that I look into for my computer's health to see if everything's running properly. So there are a few things that we need to do to actually make this useful. There's a few use cases in there, but we're just getting into the hands-on portion. Notice my interface in the screenshot looks different here. The screenshot shows a lot more information, but Task Manager in Windows Server right now is only showing me name, status, CPU, and memory. We can show more columns. If you just right-click anywhere on these headers, like I'll right-click right on status, we can see different metrics that we can report here. For example, maybe I want to show the publisher. When organizations or individuals digitally sign their applications, we can see that publisher being reported here. Stuff from Microsoft, I'm typically going to trust. If Microsoft is sending me viruses, we're all done for. And so I'm not too worried about it. But occasionally, if I see something running on my computer that's from a publisher I'm not familiar with, I might want to go look up that publisher, look up that application, and determine if that application is really safe. So I can sort by publisher. And on this server, we have a few things running that were not signed, and we have to make the determination, is that okay? Is this actually from Amazon, the Amazon Systems Manager agent? I can right-click on that and I can open file location. And where was it installed? It was installed in C, Program Files, Amazon, SSM. That gives me some confidence, like, yeah, this is probably the right application from Amazon. I'm going to close that folder. Really, we're exploring. The more familiarity you get with your computer, the more familiarity you get with these systems, the easier it is to pick out something that's not quite right. A lot of stuff from Microsoft here, which is totally fine. So this looks pretty good. I'm pretty confident I don't have any malware on this computer. The publisher helps me out with that. I can show the PID, the process identifier. This is just a number. Every program that gets launched is going to have a unique process identifier. By itself, this is not terribly useful, but there are other tools that will refer to programs running on your computer by their process identifier. So this is sometimes useful to link from those different applications. Notice when I right-click on these columns here, I can't see disk, network, or GPU. Those cause a little bit of a performance impact. Reading those values can have a performance impact on my server. We can see that information if I go over to the Performance tab in the Task Manager. I can open up the Resource Monitor, so there's a link at the very bottom to open up the Resource Monitor. And here I can see what's happening on my disk. Not much. 1% highest active time. I can even look and see, okay, the search app. What's that doing with the disk? Because maybe I've got a program that's writing tons and tons of data and it's slowing my computer down. Maybe I want to pause that so that it does its job later on in the evening or when I step away from my computer. So the Resource Monitor can be launched from the Task Manager. My CPU usage here is pretty low. Why? Because this server is not doing much except the remote desktop protocol, and my browser's not doing much. It's got a web page open, so that's totally fine. We do get a slightly different view in the server version than we get in the desktop version, just because of the way they're architected. They may converge over time. features are usually introduced into the server version slower than the desktop version. I'm going to take a look at users. This would show me who's logged into this computer right now. Right now, it's just me. I'm the only one logged into this computer. That's pretty normal. But you might have a couple of different administrators trying to troubleshoot something, so they might log in and they might see each other. Or if you want to check to see, like, did someone try to take over my machine? Did they log into my computer? You could potentially see them here in this list of users. This doesn't show me every user account on the computer. This just shows me who's logged in right now. Details. The Details tab shows you what would you expect? Details. So why do I have so many instances of Chrome running? I just have one web browser open, but I've got all these Chrome processes running. Lots of applications, they have sub-processes. So Chrome might run as your web browser, but they might have a separate process running for your extensions. They might have a separate process running for running updates. Lots of different processes work together. So looking at the details, you might want to separate that. Again, you can select, right-click, hide columns. You can select columns. You see we have a few more options here that we didn't see on just the Processes tab. So all this stuff, everything on here is fine. So everything's healthy. Everything here is good. If I look at the services, these are different applications that run in the background, and we don't need all of them all of the time. So if I look at the status column, I'll sort by status just so we can see some are running. They're actively running. Like we've got our Amazon Systems Manager agent running. We saw that over in the processes. That's good. That's fine. If I scroll down, we can see some of the other statuses. We've got some that are stopped. Things that I just don't need right now. Like smart cards. I don't need smart cards on this machine. I've not configured smart cards, so I don't need that to run. So it's good that it's stopped. Windows will manage these services automatically, but occasionally there's a service running that you don't want running. Like on my computer, on my desktop, I don't care about Xbox connectivity. So if there's an Xbox service running, I might stop that service because I don't need my laptop to connect to the Xbox service. But this is pretty clean, let's say. There's nothing malicious running in these services. I'll show it real quick. I'm going to jump out of my Windows Server virtual machine. I'm going to come to my desktop. There you can see the videos I'm working on right now. I'll open up the Task Manager on my desktop computer just to take a look at the differences here. So I'm going to right-click, come to Task Manager. I've got it configured the way I want it. I'm recording using Camtasia, so Camtasia is great. I'm connected to my virtual machine in the cloud using the remote desktop connection program. All of that's good. I want to come here to the app history because this is not available on the server. These are apps that would be installed via the Windows Store, and the Windows Store, as of right now, the version of Windows that we're using in the cloud, it's just not a feature of Windows Server, so this tab is not there. One thing, by default, it will only show you the Windows Store, but if you go to Options and show history for all processes, you can see, all right, which programs are chewing up your CPU the most. So like Camtasia is using a lot of my CPU. Why? Because rendering video takes a whole lot of CPU resources. Chrome, I use a web browser quite a bit. Again, Zoom uses a lot of CPU, uses a lot of network connectivity too. So there's a bunch of stuff. So I can look at this app history and see, why is this one program using so much of my CPU? Is something wrong with that application? Or is it just because it's got a lot of work to do and that's perfectly expected? So Task Manager, really important for making sure that your computer is healthy. It's one of the first things that we use to triage problems with computers. We can stop processes that are using too much RAM or CPU. If there's a bug in them and they're crashing our computer, we can take a look and make sure all the programs running are programs that we actually want to be running. If there's malware on a computer, we can often see that malware running using the Task Manager. So it's something that everybody should be familiar with just to make sure your computer is running the way you expect it to be running.